Hey, I'm Kelly, the shorts programmer at Toronto Real Asian International Film Festival. I hope you enjoyed the We Asian Shorts program, and now I'm just very excited to introduce you to CBC Kids host Tony Kim, who'll be chatting with all the talented filmmakers from this program. Tony Kim is an actor, voice actor, and current host of CBC Kids and the Studio K show. Before I pass it off to Tony Kim, I'd like to thank the Consulate General of the Republic of Korea in Toronto and Taipei Cultural Center of Taiwan Economic and Cultural Office in New York for their support in presenting this Q&A session. Wow. The participation of the filmmakers and talent were made possible with support from CBC. And finally, I'd like to thank Gina Rim, who will be our interpreter for today's session. So without further ado, Tony Kim.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction, Kelly. I'm so excited to be starting off the Q&A session with, I'm excited to be starting this Q. See, I'm flustered now too. I'm excited to be starting the Q&A session talking about You All, the boy who made the world dance, with the lovely director Beth, all the way from Seoul, Korea. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'm excited to ask you some questions. So I think let's just jump into the questions. So the short was so much fun to watch, and every single person in the movie was an amazing dancer. So before making this film, did you already have an idea of who you wanted to cast, or did everybody have to audition?
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me and my film to Wonderful Film Festival. And I appreciate that you watched it with delight. And for the cast, for the lead role, the actor Shim Hyun-seo was already a famous actor in Korea. He was the Billy of musical Billy Elliot, and I contacted his parents' Instagram and asked whether he was going to participate for the audition, and he accepted it. So we did the audition same condition with the other participants, and he got the role, and so as well as the other participants. And for the role of the teacher, Chemin, the actress, she has never done camera acting before, but she is a professional dancer, and I thought she was a good match for the film. So I asked her in person because she's my friend, and she accepted it.
Wow, I love that you have all the connections. You can just text Billy Elliot and you could just talk to a professional dance instructor. That's amazing. So not only were the dancing movements so beautiful, but the camera movements were beautiful as well. There were so many one shots and so many pans and whips, and it was just so amazing to watch. So my question is, did the camera operator work with the dancers while they were making the choreography, or were those separate?
Oh, so the one-take shots were a very big pain to shoot. For your question, it's kind of a yes and no, because you know, as you know, the shooting kind of relies much on the situation of the set, depending on the art, props, and other things. So we had to do the rehearsal for the specific movements. But before that, when we were in the training session, I always had an iPhone on my hand and did the recording, and that kind of became a part of choreography. So all of the choreography and camera movements were kind of prepared at that stage. And so by the support of the camera crews in the set, we kind of made the shots, and that's the result that you're watching on the film.
Wow. Yeah, it all came together so beautifully. So thank you so much for your hard work and orchestrating everything and making it work together. And I could tell that shooting the film was so much fun. And I am a terrible dancer. I can't dance for my life, but I was still dancing while watching the movie. So you did something right over there. Why did you choose dancing to be the main focus of the film?
Okay, so dancing in my film is I was trying not to use it as a material, but rather as a language, because when I was learning dancing, I started dancing in the very later years of my life. I was kind of in pain and some sort of bond to pain in that stage, and so when I was dancing, I felt a lot of freedom and joy coming to my life, and I wanted all the other people watching my film to feel the same way. And I wish they wanted to feel like dancing after watching my film. Um, so I was trying to incorporate that into my film.
Wow.
And I'm a terrible dancer as well, but I just enjoy dancing and like to learn many stuff. And recently, I'm working on the future project, which is also a dance film. So I'm normally in front of my MacBook instead of dance studios.
I see. I see. Wow. Okay, so it's good to know that we're on the same dancing skill level, I guess. What is your favorite style of dancing?
Well, I started with ballet and tap dancing, but I'm really much into modern, which is contemporary dancing, and jazz and hip hop and urban dancing.
Yeah, and in the movie there were all different kinds of styles of dancing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Which one was the most hard to work with or to choreograph or direct?
Well, the last scene, which is in the playground, that was kind of a big challenge
Yeah.
for me personally. I appear in the scene of the tap dance.
Oh, you make a cameo?
Yeah, yeah, kind of. If you look close, please take a close look, and you'll find me. And that was the biggest challenge personally.
Yeah, I can imagine. It was a lot of people to work with, and it was a big open space. I can tell that it might be a little chaotic. Now, the last question from me to you is, can you show me your favorite dance move?
All right. It's kind of a very small room, but I want to see if you recognize this.
Okay.
It's like this.
Oh. Gina, you didn't say anything throughout this whole interview. I want you to do the little dance with us. Let's go. Well, thank you so much for answering my questions, Beth. We do have one more question from a child. This is Rosemary, and she's 6 years old from Toronto. And she asks,
why did he dream about having the power to make everyone dance?
That's a very hard question. Well, Yuval didn't really ask for it. He just has it in himself. So he is like robed in dance. So it's very natural for him for himself to dance, and him wishing for everyone to dance. I'm not sure if this is a good answer.
No, it's great. I mean, I like the idea of having the dance inside of you and just the need to share it with everyone else. I think that's a really cool thing about making our art as well. You as a director and me as an actor, we're sharing our art and we're inspiring other people, and we want to show people that we can express ourselves freely. And I think that your movie showed that perfectly. So thank you so much for sharing your art with us. And thank you so much for spending your time. It's midnight in Korea, and I just made you dance and all that stuff. So hopefully that drained your energy and you can have a nice sleep.
All right. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Tony. Bye.
Bye, everyone. So now we are going to be racing on in over, and we're going to talk about the short Beyond the Line. And we're so lucky to have our short's director, creator, Ji-Nook Choi, and he's in New York. So luckily the time difference isn't, actually it's non-existent. I'm in Toronto, you're in New York. We're in the same time zone. So that's good. So we're going to be talking about your movie Beyond the Line. And I think the movie is such a great representation of how strong and powerful the childhood imagination can be. Being able to transform boring and mundane things like an X-ray into the overhead view of a racetrack, or wait, I need to get this name right, the sphygmomanometer, and turning it into the speedometer.
Yeah.
Like looking at these boring things and turning them into something else is kind of like a superpower. So my question to you is, did it take you a long time to think of these concepts, or was it easy for you to look at the world through the lens of a child?
Yeah. Can I speak Korean?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. 그러니까 저는 이미 늙어서 이제 저는 뭐 아이처럼 아이의 눈으로 세상을 바라볼 수는 없습니다.
I can't watch the world like a child because I'm already old.
Yeah. But 저는 제가 관심이 가는 게 생기면 그것을 오랫동안 관찰해 보기도 하고 흉내내어 보기도 하면서 어떤 새로운 무언가를 발견하는 것을 되게 즐거워하는 편입니다.
But once I find something interesting, I observe it for a long time, copy it, and enjoy finding new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 그래서 이 필름의 아이디어를 이제 생각할 때 뭐 굉장히 힘들거나 뭐 어렵진 않았고 오히려 그 시간이 저한테는 되게 재미있는 시간이었습니다.
So when I had to come up with the ideas for this film, it wasn't hard. Instead, it was the best time for me.
Right.
다만 그 컨셉을 가지고 어떻게 스토리에 자연스럽게 녹여낼 것인가에 대해 더 많은 시간을 투자를 한 것 같습니다.
However, it took longer trying to figure out how to melt that concept into the story naturally.
그래서 그게 왜냐하면 흩어져 있던 각각의 아이디어들이 제 머릿속에 있던 아이디어들이 스토리라는 매개체로 통해 자연스럽게 이어지고 중첩되어질 때 더 큰 시너지를 발휘할 수 있다고 생각하기 때문입니다.
Because when each scattered ideas naturally connects and overlaps through a medium, which is the story, it can create a big synergy.
네, 그리고 그것이 이제 애니메이션이 가지고 있는 큰 힘 중 하나라고 생각합니다.
And I also think that's one of the power effect that an animation can have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting that you say that you're old and you can't have the lens of a child, but you made this movie with such care, and I think that you do a very good job going into that mindset. I don't think the child in us ever goes away. You just have to work a little bit harder than an actual child.
네.
So my next question is it's kind of a silly question. But in the movie, there are crutches that are in the race with everyone else. Were those two crutches racing against each other, or were they
Yeah.
working together as a team?
그러니까 이거는 되게 아쉽게도 반대로 했으면 좋겠지만 너무 당연하지만 목발은 하나의 팀이었습니다. 제 생각에는.
Unfortunately, and of course, in my opinion, the crutches are a team.
Yeah. I'm
Isn't
sorry.
that a little cheating? Isn't that
Yeah.
a little cheating? Those crutches have an advantage. But that's fair. I think, yeah, together, they work together. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And in the movie, you put a lot of little details. So I talked about the sphygmomanometer and the speedometer, but even if the viewers look really closely on the tires of the wheelchair, it says good month, which is
Yeah.
obviously a play on good year. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience? Maybe some little Easter egg that people haven't seen before?
Yeah. 그러니까 이 타이어가 굉장히 잘 안 보일 텐데 어떻게 봐주셔서 저도 정말 놀랐습니다.
You can't really see the tire, so thank you for noticing that.
그래서 그러니까 또 다른 디테일한 점을 한 가지 정도 말씀드릴 수 있는데요.
I can tell you about one other detail.
먼저 그 체크 깃발에 대한 것입니다.
The first is about the check pattern flag.
영화의 도입 부분에서 병실에서 아이가 테디베어를 안고 자고 있는 모습을 보고 있을 수 있는데요.
In the beginning of the film, you can see the child sleeping with the teddy bear.
그 테디베어의 손에는 아무것도 없습니다.
There's nothing in hand of the teddy bear.
하지만 영화의 가장 마지막 샷에 레이싱을 끝낸 후 아이가 웃는 모습을 보여주는데,
After the car race, you can see the child smiling.
네, 그 샷에서 테디베어를 보시면 손에 체크 깃발을 쥐고 있습니다.
And in that shot, if you look at the teddy bear, he's holding the check pattern flag.
야, 아이와 휠체어가 레이싱에서 우승했다는 것을 의미합니다.
It means that the child won a car race.
야,
Wow. I missed that completely. I have to go
Yeah.
back and watch it again. Thank you so much for sharing that detail.
예.
And now we have a question from a kid, also from Toronto, Ontario, from Howell, who is 3 years old. He asks,
No.
Howell, you had a question, right? Remember the movie Beyond the Line?
How you truck?
Leo Truck? No Leo Truck right now, Howell.
You truck.
Okay, Howell, are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay, 시작.
Uh-huh.
크게 말해봐. 고마워.
Why think out? I know.
이거는 그냥 제 백스토리를 얘기하는 게 좋을 것 같아요.
I think this involves kind of like my backstory.
네, 제 여자친구의 그 동생이 이렇게 휠체어를 타고 다니거든요.
My girlfriend's brother is actually in a wheelchair.
그래서 그 아이가 병원에서 이제 뭐 병원을 자주 가거나 아니면 거기서 생활하는데 거기에서 이제 영감을 받은 것 같습니다.
He got the inspiration because he goes to the hospital a lot and goes around in the wheelchair a lot.
네.
ah.
이게 대답이 됐는지 모르겠네요.
I'm not sure if this answer satisfies the question.
No, that answered the question totally fine. And I think it's really cool that you understand the insides of like a hospital. It's kind of like Toy Story. Is that kind of like what you were going for? Like the feel of Toy Story, just using the imagination and letting it come to life?
토이스토리에서 영감 같은 것을 얻으셨는지.
네, 그 토이 스토리랑 그 픽사의 단편 중에 레드 드림이라는 게 있거든요. 그래서 거기서도 영감을 많이 받았습니다.
So he got the inspiration from Toy Story, and there's another film from Pixar called Red Dream.
레드 드림.
Red Dream.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, have to give that a look-see. Well, thank you so much for joining us and answering the questions over here. And we really appreciate you sharing your art with us.
네, 감사합니다.
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 So now we are going to fly on over. You guys see what I did there? We're going to fly on over to the next Q&A with the awesome filmmaker behind Test Flight. We have Emma Momoko Fru. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So I was originally going to start off talking about the music, but I do notice in your background that heavy-duty looking tablet. Is that what you use to work on the short?
Oh yeah, I have so this is I'm working right now in TV, so this is like my work station, and then I have another one here, so it's kind of all full of stuff right now.
Oh, that's awesome. And just this is just a little gamer note. Is that a gaming chair that you're sitting on? Are you a gamer?
No, I'm not a gamer. I just really like the chair. It had
That's
Diva on
totally
it.
fair.
It
It's
was
aesthetically
funny.
pleasing. All right, we're gonna get into the serious questions about your film. The music in the short is so much fun. It's so delightful, and I feel like it does a great job conveying the feelings of everything that's happening. So kudos to Eric Samuel and Timothy Chung. What was the process like working with the composers, and how involved were you in the process as a director?
So I don't really have that much experience like giving music direction, which is the reason why I was like kind of nervous about the whole thing. But so when I initially made the Leica, I would put in like temporary music of things that I thought like, oh, this would kind of match the mood here. This would kind of just to like, be able to communicate a little bit better with the composers. So I would send that over and I'd be like, this is kind of the vibe. And then they would send like a pass back of like temporary music and like temporary instruments that are like they're not the final thing. It's just like a bit track. So then they'd be like, how's this? And then I'd be like, oh, maybe we can make this part like more sadder, or maybe we can make this part. I don't know. I just feel like I could have been, I didn't know how to give direction, but like they did a great job regardless. So I was like, oh, thank you. And I think for that was for Eric, and for Timothy, that was actually my sister's friend in engineering, and he's never like composed anything for animation before, and I was like, oh, like, and I knew that he was busy at the time, so I was like, oh, just send in like whatever you have, just because like I know that you're busy. And then he like sent back like near the end of the year like this like piano track of like it was like separate clips. It wasn't the whole thing, but it was just like, it was so good that I was like, I have to use it. Where am I going to use it? And then I put it in the credits, because I was like I like, it was just so good. So then I put in the credits, and I was like, I put in the credits, is that okay? And they're like, wow, it's great, thank you. And I was like, cool. And then that's how that all happened.
That's super cool. I mean, I definitely couldn't tell that like it was their first time composing something for a film. So you guys made the behind the scenes stuff totally work for everything. So I love the idea of the various fruits and vegetables powering the flying sticks. My favorite one was definitely the corn that was turning into popcorn, or maybe the pumpkin turning into the carriage. Were there any other food related ideas that you were playing with that was left on the cutting room floor, or did you manage to use all of your vegetable and fruit ideas?
Oh, geez. There used to be so many, because originally it was going to be like purely a gag film. Like there wasn't going to be an emotional beginning and emotional end, and it was just going to be all like silly antics. So at first, the pass of the Leica and storyboard, I did as many vegetable jokes as I possibly could. Like she would use like a hot pepper and then fly up in the air and turn into like a firework and explode. Or like they would there was one where like they put a beat on and it turns into a disco ball, and then a heavy beat starts playing in the background, and they're like dancing. And then there's like a lot more like other ideas, but I had to cut them based on like, you know, clarity and like language barrier, because I didn't want like things to get lost in translation if it was too like food punny. So then those things had to get cut. Or like things that flying up the air and exploding, people were like, oh, does that mean it was kind of successful? Because like she needed to fly, so it was just sort of like any thing that was like she was kind of flying, I had to get rid of. And then I had to get rid of more because of like the emotional beginning and ending. So then like I condensed it down to just like the 3, and I was like, you know, and then the other like hyper cut of her failing, I'm like, you know what, that's good enough. It was, you know, it works, you know.
Right. Well, did you end up animating those ideas at all, or were they just in your brain?
I didn't. Oh, sorry.
Oh man, I was just about to say that it would be so cool if you animated those and put them as like a little blooper reel at the end of your short.
Oh,
just like all the
so
little
good.
misadventures. Yeah. Maybe that's a sequel.
A sequel.
And the last question I have for you is that Test Flight, it's only a 3-minute short film, but it probably, I'm assuming it took much longer than that to create. There were so many little details packed into it. How long did it take for you and your team to finish the project from start to finish, and what was the hardest part for you?
So this was a thesis film project for, you know, graduating film, and we only had like the time that I had for the film was 8 months, which was a school year, but we also had like extra homework that we had to do on top of it for like other classes. There weren't that many other classes, but we still had to do like extra homework. So then it was we got like a pre-made schedule. I don't think like anything was really hard, because if something was like too difficult or like too beyond my like physical capabilities, I would kind of like simplify it to the point where it's like, okay, this is manageable. I can finish this within the time frame, because our what's recommended for us is that we do a 1-minute film for the whole year, and then anything more than that is like considered risky. So a lot of people were telling me like, you can't finish a 3-minute film, you can't finish like them doing all of this stuff, and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? So then I would simplify all of it, and then I would make my own schedule that's different from the school schedule, so that way like the deadlines would be sooner and faster. And then everyone also like the colorists, they killed, like I think everything went more smoothly than I thought it would, because like
Yes.
they handed in like everything on time. Like even like I'd be like, hey, here are 2 or 3 scenes. Can you like color them in a month? And then they'd be like 2 days later, they'd be like, I finished them. Thank you for the opportunity. Do you want anything else? Like, is there anything else I could do? I was like, wow, you guys are like so nice. Like, whoa. And then we actually finished a month early to
Whoa.
make it. Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, whoa. And then like, yeah, I think the thing that probably was the like difficult was actually like not making it, but was like going along with the idea of like because everyone was telling me like, you can't do it, you can't finish it, like it's too, and I was like, I can't like, can I finish it? And then it was just like going back and forth between like, should I stop, should I keep going, should I stop? And then I just, yeah, and that was it.
Wow. Well, there you have it, folks. Creating an animated short is super easy peasy. We'll just toss it aside and let it happen. No, but seriously, there was a lot of work that went into it, and we really appreciate you sharing that really, really cool and beautiful piece of work. So thank you again for sharing your project with us. We have actually a question from 2 kids today for you. One is from Olivia, who is 7, and Arya, who is 4. They are both from Aurora, Ontario. They say, we love the film, and our question is, why a strawberry? Is that your favorite fruit?
I do like strawberries, but thanks for the question, Olivia and Arya? Arya, there we go. Thanks for your question. So what I wanted the film to kind of be about was, you know, like to each their own. Like it didn't really like, I wanted the strawberry to be, I wanted the fruit that would ultimately work in the end, something that would kind of match the character. So it wasn't necessarily like, oh, there's a logical reason why. It just kind of works for her. It matches her. It suits her. That's kind of just like the best option for her. And that's kind of like that's what I wanted, like the main thing to be. And even though like some people get it and some people don't, like there's like, you know, at the beginning of the film, like the bunny expects it to be a carrot, and then the chipmunk expects it to be a carrot because that's what everything is, and the audience expects it to be a carrot. And then when it doesn't work, everyone's like, what's going on? She should match this thing because that's who she is. But you know, sometimes like the first answer isn't always the most obvious answer, and sometimes like you can't explain why things don't work for you, why things work for you. It's just depending on the person, there's going to be a different match. So I tried to like make it like kind of suit the character a little bit more. So the pink of the strawberry is closer to the pink of the hat, and then the little seeds are like the brim of her hat and the lapel. And I wanted it to be subtle because I didn't want to like if people picked up on it, I was like, cool. But if they didn't, it's just like, it's still a cute story. So I was like, you know, whatever you get from it was good. But that's the reason.
That's really cool. I like the subverting of the expectations, and there's like a little bit of a moral in there. It's just like, don't expect what you expect. Always go with the flow, and whatever happens.
Yeah.
I really like that. Well, thank you so much for spending your time and taking your time to answer these questions, Emma.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, everybody. I hope you're all sitting down because the next movie we're talking about is Isle of Chairs. You see that? These segues are perfect. And we are here with the Isle of Chair creator based in London, Ivy Chen. So thank you so much for joining us, Ivy.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to start off with this question here. So at the beginning of the film, there was a quote that you put from Haruki Murakami, which said, most people go about their lives unconscious of their deformities, while in this little world of ours, the deformities themselves are a precondition. What does that mean to you, and how did that reflect in the story?
I think it tracked back to the first time when I read the book, when I was like first year in my university in Taiwan. And I think it was also the first encounter that I have to the term depression. And I was hugely inspired by the idea that the mental health cares center in the story. It represents a small utopia village, and then the differences between people living in that village and people from the outside world. It's just that the people in that village, they know their deformities, while like people from the outside, they don't know. They are living with their deformities without realizing. And then like I think it's the idea of like the so-called normality. To me, it's really subjective. It's like limited to one person's perspective. So I want to reflect this idea to the films that everyone, it's tiny bit tilted in some way, and there is no like so-called normal like in these stories. And then like we will all be deformed to one another.
I think that's a great message. It's just like nothing is as perfect as it seems. There's always something underlying what you initially see on the front. So I really, really like that. Thank you for answering that. So in this short, we follow this gentle giant, this white giant who seems to have a connection with both chairs and order. He always seems to be trying to fix things and tilting things to the way that he feels is right. But he has never sat. He doesn't use the chair to sit on. What does that mean? What is a chair to you in this story?
It's interesting to think like he has never sat on one chair, but like he carries the job as like someone trying to fix the other chairs, and then he seems to be functional and also like at all time. But maybe I feel like in this story, maybe he was looking for his own chair as well, but he just haven't found it. He was like seeking the one that he can sit on and also to settle with himself. At least that's what I was thinking, like how the chairs carry on all the job, but actually he kept working, he kept being functional, but he eventually will find the one that belongs to him.
Oh, wow. And that must be a giant chair for him. Or maybe he likes small chairs. Who knows? I like the idea that the chair could be different for every different person. You know, one chair might not fit this person, but a chair might fit the next one. So I really like that. It's a good message to be sending. And the last question I have for you is, what is your favorite kind of chair?
Oh yeah, it's a really tough question. I think I think I would say the school chair, like the wooden school chair from high school and middle school, because I found them really unique. Like it's like everyone has probably sat on it, and then like you only have the chance to sit on it when you are in schools, and right after you graduate, you will never have the chance to be able to like use them again. And then they are unique in that way, like it limited to certain periods of time in your life, but at the same time I like how anonymous like they are to just, it shows equality to me, that everyone is like equal in this class, and then everyone is kind of like, I mean, I guess in the way that I found myself, like when I grew up as like very ordinary child in the class. Like I don't do things too loud. I was just like really well behaved, I would say. Like people probably wouldn't notice me if I don't say anything. But at the same time, I think I like to depict the story that is like from ordinary people, that I think they are the important component to the society as well. And then and I think the idea of the chair is really fascinating to me, because it's something customized for people, but at the same time it can be either functional or it can just be a decoration in your house, and then people don't really notice it before maybe they watch the film, or before like they start realizing their connection with the chair.
Wow. I love all of your answers, because they all have some sort of like sentimentality or some real good thoughts behind it. Again, it's just like every chair is different for someone, or you don't really know what you have till it's gone, like the middle school and the high school chairs. Like you're right. I have not sat in one of those chairs in years and years and years. And it's kind of like a feeling that you kind of miss, or you reminisce and think about. So that's very nice. So I have a question from a kid from Toronto, Ontario. This is a question from Helena, who is 5 years old, and she's asking, why is the big white person protecting the chair?
Yes. I think so. The giant, it could represent, to me, it represents the different perspective of how people see mental health. It could be like someone who is suffering from mental health, and then like they're just trying to lift up themselves, like keep thinking like, oh, I shouldn't be down, I should be functional again. Like, but at the same time, it could be someone that like for example, my friend who is under mental health, like depression attack, and I really want to help him, but I don't know how to help him. Or it could be also like a point of view from the society to think like you always have to be functional. So I think it's quite vague to say that what kind of mind. It could be both. Like it could be like all of them, that the giant is trying to be like, he tried to be like, he tried to correct everything that is not normal to him, but at the same time he did see the difficulty like on the people on those chairs and trying to protect, maybe like trying to protect what he believes, but at the end that's like what he believes is it like right to other people. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very interesting that you're talking about mental health awareness, because that's very, very important. And not, I feel like nowadays it's starting to become a little bit more noticeable. More people are paying attention to their mental health. And I think it's very interesting that the giant is protecting these chairs that might be broken or they might be out of place, because a lot of the time people who are suffering from depression or mental health issues, they are the most kind. They're the ones who help the other people as much as they can because they want to try to help themselves as well. So I think it's a very beautiful message. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Ivy.
Thank you so much.
All right, we are on to the next Q&A, and this is the first time that we have a trio over here. So we are going to be discussing,
Fancy.
Things are going to get a little bit more action-packed because we are discussing the movie Firstborn. We have a few people to introduce everyone to. So first, we have the director Justin Bruce Lee, who is based in San Francisco, and he is joined by fellow key creators Eric Bertolfo and David Deba. I said key creators in my little script over here, but I'm looking at your titles right now. So David Deba is the art director and compositor, and Eric Bertolfo is the animation supervisor. It's hidden by the Toronto.
Yeah.
Is that the supervisor?
Yeah, supervisor, yes.
Awesome. Okay, good. I can infer. All right, so I have a few questions. This first one is actually directed to Justin. So Justin Bruce Lee. With that name, I'm assuming that you have either grew up with a martial arts background or you were steeped in martial arts film, assuming that you watch a lot of Bruce Lee films. And for the viewers at home, if you notice in the beginning of the film, there's a little training room and there's a giant poster of Bruce Lee right over there. So my question to you is, how long have you wanted to tell the story and showcase the beautiful art of Kung Fu?
Yeah, so throughout my life, so my dad just raised me, just showing me all these Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li movies, and made me fall in love with Kung Fu cinema. And I thought that was so exciting. And that's why I wanted to do. So throughout my high school and early college years, I studied Kung Fu in San Francisco, Chinatown, from my school called Yao Gongmun. And my instructor taught me the Kung Fu set that you'll see in the short. And so like what San Jose State from our college, we wanted to really explore Kung Fu and action, because I think we rarely see any like action from like action animated shorts from our school. So we really wanted to explore that, but also tell a good story that everyone could relate to. So yeah, it's so satisfying to finally make a Kung Fu animated short film come to life. And I got to thank David and Eric for making it happen, and my team and the rest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the collaboration shows there's a lot of detail. It's beautiful to watch. This is not part of the questions that I prepared, but I'm actually really curious. So when you guys were animating the different, I don't know the right word for it, like the poses or the movements and the forms, did you guys have someone to model the forms, or did you use it from your brain? Do all of you guys have a martial arts background and can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this pose, I'm going to animate it that way? What was the process like?
So I can kind of go into that. Funnily enough, Justin was our model per se. He basically showed us footage of that actual Kung Fu set. And if I needed like in-person reference, I would ask Justin like, hey, can you do this move real quick? And then I would watch him. I would take notes. I would, basically do most of the Kung Fu animation through Justin's skill. I have no martial arts skill at all. So it's good to have an actual in-person, practitioner in the room to kind of help you go through the motion. Have him describe what, each form does and how he goes from pose to pose. And like, Yeah.
I'm just imagining like the scenario, you know how there's that stereotype of like artists and they have like one model in the room and they're surrounded by 20 people with their easel. I'm just imagining all of you guys sitting around Justin and being like, yes, okay, no, stand still. Don't move. You've done this before. That's just a really funny image. Sorry, David, you were saying something.
Specifically, there's like that one bird eye view shot of the Kung Fu set, and we all live in an apartment together, and there's a bridge that's like 50 feet up, which was perfect, so we could have Justin on the ground, and we would film him from like a super high angle to get that footage.
Yep.
So yeah,
that's super cool. I love that. Okay, so we're moving on to the next question, and I feel like in this day and age, stories of parental expectations, especially in Asian families, have been emerging more and more. And I hate to say it, but like growing up with my family, we did not break the mold. We were the very stereotypical Asian family. You know, you got to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, make that bread, supply for your family, all that stuff. And needless to say, as an artist, my parents were. They were very skeptical about me venturing into that kind of field. So as Asian artists, what were your parents the same way? How well were you supported in terms of venturing into the artistic fields?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't have that struggle with my parents because I was really grateful that my parents always supported me in the arts, because also my dad is also in the animation industry. So he was really supportive of me entering animation. I mean, how about you, Eric?
I'm kind of in the same boat. My parents kind of supported me in whatever I decided to do, on the one condition that whatever I wanted to do in the future, I had to love to do it. And animation is the one thing that I ultimately love doing, and they supported me the whole way.
That's amazing. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Nothing. I was just saying, let's say, on you, David, as an Asian American, do you ever have that struggle?
No, but the closest thing to that struggle would just be I have a twin brother, so I could relate to Arthur in the sense that we were very competitive, and if I wasn't doing as good as he was in a subject or something, I'd often feel insignificant in that sense. But my parents were very supportive of me in the arts, so.
So everyone here has had supportive parents. I'm out.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. My parents are very supportive of me right now. This is, I mean, it's really cool that we get to be showcasing our abilities and like enjoy doing what we do and creating content and showing the world what we're capable of and wanting to do. So I think that's super important. So you guys are already like shining role models for the generations growing up. So that's awesome. So the last question I have right over here is at the end of the short, the sashes of the siblings fly off and they join together and they create the word power. I hope I'm getting that right. And there are a lot of different ways to interpret it. Like, is it the power to let go and not conform to other expectations, or the power to be just simply content with yourself? What was your thought process of using the word power to end your film?
Yeah, so how we begin the short with the sash animation, we wanted to end it in the same way. And it was a great opportunity when we finally have Arthur and Aurora together and have two of their sashes form something. And we try to think of something that represents the whole film. So I was just looking at Chinese characters, and I found this perfect one for strength, power. The Chinese character is Li. And so it's cool how it forms into the Chinese character perfectly. Yeah. And that's why we name our characters Arthur Lee and Aurora Lee, because it also represents strength. But I think Eric could really expand on the meaning of why we chose the character.
Yeah. So literally the symbol means power or strength. But contextually for the film, it can basically be applied to everything that you said, Tony. So like it can represent Arthur finding the inner strength to come out of his sister's shadow, or Aurora's strength to finally show their father that Arthur is worth looking at. So, you know, we kind of use those ideas to kind of help push the film into the meaning that we wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have a little bit of a bonus question. This might be left on the cutting room floor when they edit it and all that stuff. But growing up, I was a huge fan of the show Avatar: The Last Airbender.
We all are.
Was there any influence at all on that? Because I noticed like the sister, she had kind of like Azula's hair,
That was
and you know, like
coincidence.
the first element that was introduced when he was doing his forms was fire, kind of like Zuko, and I was just kind of imagining like a fan fiction alternate reality where that family is just peachy and having the best time together. So was there any influence from Avatar or any other outside shows?
So yes, definitely we were Avatar fans. We can't lie about that.
Yeah.
That was in childhood. But I think had a lot of other influences. So like for me specifically, so I would go on lots of road trips as a kid, and we would watch movies when we were driving. And I was trying to think back to what I felt was magical when I was a kid, so we could kind of bring that into Arthur's story and to what his imagination was. So we try to keep that authentic. So for me, with my childhood, I loved Fantasia. That was something that I always thought was super magical. Also Prince of Egypt, the water effects, all the special effects in those were huge influences in the special effects in the short film and in the fantasy world. And as far as the backgrounds go, a short film that really influenced it was this short film called The Weekend that was an Oscar nominated in 2019. I think had an Asian American director. And it has also a very authentic kind of look to it. So we try to keep it authentic to our childhoods and what kind of made us feel magical when we were young.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a beautiful short to look at. There was clearly a lot of care that was taken. So thank you again. I'm saying this to every single one of the short films, but thank you for sharing your art with us, because it truly is inspiring and wonderful to watch, and it was so much fun. So now we actually have two questions from children. One is from Miles, who is 7 years old from Toronto, and he's asking,
Hi, my name is Miles. I am 7 years old. I live in Toronto, Canada, and my question about the video that I just watched was, how did the boy get confident in himself? And when he did he learn before he did that? Goodbye.
in parentheses, it says, I think he means, did he practice or train a lot? Okay, so I guess this is up to interpretation, like in the backstory of how often you feel like the main character has practiced to get to where he is today in comparison to like his sister, let's say.
Yeah, so yeah, it's like it's for the audience interpretation of how much Arthur trained. But I guess when we were first developing the story, yeah, Arthur was training a lot just to get his dad's approval, and that's what we all do, right? Like when we're training so much, but sometimes with all that training or when we practice, we don't always get the results we expect, but then something else comes out of it. And in the short, you know, just having the love of his sister, and he's able to even get a second place medal was all he needs, because in this story, he never got any award except for, like, in the short, a certificate of participation. So, right. I mean, I think, Arthur trained a lot for this upcoming tournament, so.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because like a lot of people, they seem to be like in the mentality of gold is the best. Anything else is like not winning. So like a second place medal and the fact that someone could feel content and happy to get such an honor, because it still is an honor. Second place is amazing. Yeah. And the amount of work and effort that goes behind that is, no one can calculate that. You know, it's really dependent on who you are as a person and how hard you push yourself. Like for me, I'm not sure if you guys can see this. There's a heavy bag right there. I got into boxing a little earlier this year.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I got into boxing a little earlier this year, and I haven't done it in like the last couple of months, and I finally went back and I did it, and I got winded after like half a minute. Yeah. And so like that's just me after a couple of months of not practicing the art form or the activity itself. So really it shows how much work has to go in to get to any kind of elevated higher level of competition or performance.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think, and
And
like
also-
I'll go real quick. Okay. I was going to say, in today's society, I also think like there's too much emphasis put on to like doing the best and not improvement. And often we need to learn to have a more of an improvement mindset. I think especially with us as artists, you know, we are super competitive with each other, and just like proud of yourself for improving. That's how you really get to the better spots in life.
For sure.
Yeah, and then I was going to say, in terms of what finally made Arthur kind of gain confidence in himself, we kind of talked about it during the story planning phase, and it ultimately came down to that in the past, Arthur was performing for his dad, but in this moment, Arthur is performing for himself.
Yes.
That he needs to let go of, getting his dad's approval. As long as he is proud of what he does in this moment, then that's all that matters to him. It doesn't matter if he wins a medal, doesn't matter if he gets gold, as long as he's, sure of himself and that this is his absolute best, then that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, that brings it all full circle into what we were talking about before, about how we're doing this for ourselves. We have supportive families, we have supportive friends, but this is ultimately what makes us happy, and this is how we're going to be living the rest of our lives. And I think that's a really, really important message to be sharing with the viewers right now. Everyone who's young right now, do what you love, do what makes you happy.
Yeah, do what you love. Seriously, don't let anyone stop you.
Yes. And finally, we have one question from Yuna, who is 5 years old from Toronto, asking,
Hi, my name is Yuna. I'm 5 years old and I live in Toronto, Canada. And my question is, why do the people, the characters in this show don't talk? Not talk.
Oh, no, that's a great question, because when I watch cartoons or animated shorts just like that, it's like, yeah, I wonder why are they talking. So why we decide not to have dialogue, because I think if you're able to tell a story without dialogue, that's what makes it a great short, because you could just tell the story through the acting and the cinematography and how we film it and animate it, and because sometimes dialogue kind of gives the story. So when you just do it through movement, I think it's a little more impressive, or not impressive, but it just brings to another kind of level to the animated
It
film.
keeps the story grounded. Like, you're not distracted by, kind of just background dialogue. You're kind of still in the moment between Arthur and Aurora when they're kind of in the stands.
We really wanted the focus to be on the kung fu and not the dialogue, and not to be like getting focused on what they're saying. We really wanted you to be seeing the choreography of the kung fu, so that's why we chose to do that.
Yeah, and one thing that they taught us at San Jose State University is show, don't tell. So we really took that to heart, and that's pretty much why we didn't have any dialogue.
Fair enough, yeah. And in case your next project does include voices, I'm always available.
Yes.
I am free. You can feel free to reach out. I'm networking right now.
We will call you immediately.
Yeah, we'll call you, Tony.
I'm holding you guys to that. Well, thank you so much for spending your time and answering these questions. I really appreciate it. And thank you for
so much,
sharing
Tony.
with us your
course.
short film. Awesome.
Thank you so
Have a
much
good one,
for having
guys.
us. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. Last but not least, we are going to be talking about a short that I really felt. Thank you. You guys laughed. I don't know if the audience is laughing because it's pre-recorded, but we are talking about the short movie Felt Love. And joining us are Arlene Bonko and Angeline Vu. I hope I said your names right.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you guys are based in San Jose right now? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Amazing. Cool. Well, thank you so much for spending your time and answering these questions. You guys are clearly the duo that has made me cry the most out of all of these films. My partner and I were watching and we were just like, oh no, get the tissues. And the cat was trying to comfort us. It was a wild ride. But it was so much fun to look at. And I had to go back a few times to admire all the small and minute details that you guys put into the movie. So my question is, what gave you the idea to amalgamate the two different types of animation styles, using the combination of the felt and the miniatures in conjunction with the 2D animation?
Yeah, so our whole team really loves like handmade crafts and like stop motion. And we felt like the imperfections of something handmade makes it more real so that people can connect to the story more and its imperfect characters. And Angeline can talk more about like the animation part of it.
Yeah, so we wanted to do 2D animation on top of our physical sets because we felt that it's more like of a hand-drawn type of art, so it's more prone to like the imperfections and the little flaws that are also present in like people and their relationships. So we thought it would be the best way to communicate the relationship between the boy and his mom, since like every relationship has its own like little flaws and imperfections.
Oh yeah, that's a really beautiful way of looking at it. Yeah, no relationship is perfect. There are definitely imperfections, and it's working through the imperfections, or not even working through, but like acknowledging and just being in the imperfection that really gives life meaning, or carrying on with life. And so my next question is, growing up as a first generation Asian Canadian, I'm not sure if you guys are in the same boat as me. I feel like emotions weren't something that physically manifested very much in a family. My parents were very much, they didn't cry very often. It was strictly work, be successful. We got to do what's best for the family. So it's like a more big picture kind of scenario. So was this story based off of something that you guys had experienced or wish you had experienced? Because it's kind of like a cathartic experience for me.
Yeah, so for me, the part of the story I related to the most was the boy wanting to spend time with his mom and his mom being like too busy for that. But at the end though, I think it's just about finding ways to like just be there and spend time with your loved ones, even when like they don't seem like they have time. Like the mom is just working, but like the boy can still like be there and like sit with her and spend time with her. And I think Marlene can relate to this as well.
Yeah, I think like you said, like emotions are expressed like very, very rarely. And so when like a moment like this does happen, it's very, very, it's like a nice bonding moment. And we wanted to show that like in our film, like, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, bonding is such an important part of any relationship. And we were just talking about my cat. I just adopted a cat 2 weeks ago, and it's something just as simple as sitting beside them and spending that time. You don't need to be interacting. You don't need to be overly communicating with each other. It's just the act of being there that can mean the world to anybody. So that mother-son relationship and just sitting and being, I feel like, is such an important thing. So for the viewers at home, please like spend time with your loved ones. If you want to develop a relationship, just be there and just go with the flow. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful message. And I noticed in your background, Arlene, the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse poster. Is that one of your favorite movies?
It is. I love Spider-Man.
It's beautiful. I've watched it like 5 times. Every time I watch it, I see a new aspect of the animation. I'm like, that's wild how they did all these things.
Yeah.
Was there a moment that was particularly difficult or challenging or exciting for you to attempt to animate?
Oh, I think like part of it was like getting like the scaling of like getting like the mom and the son, like making sure that they're like the right size for the set and making sure that they like fit in the set.
Yeah. I had to go back to, I mentioned before, I had to go back and watch your short a bunch of times, because the first time I saw it, I was like, oh yes, the mom is sewing and she's using the sewing machine, and the sewing machine was felt or was a miniature. But then I realized, wait, how did you manage to make the needle go up and down? And then I realized that was like a 2D thing. It was a nice little splicing of the different worlds. So that was something I really appreciated. So kudos to you guys for your creativity and putting it into your work, your project.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the last question I have, and this is actually kind of relating to the props and the set. I feel like the tinier that the set is, the more difficult it is to maintain and work with, because like how first of all, how small were the miniatures you were working with?
Oh, so it's about, we built it at 1/12 scale. So 1 inch in the set is equal to 1 foot in real life. And then the set, I think, is about 1 foot by 1 foot. So it's about like a shoebox size.
Oh, wow. So you guys were working with a shoebox set, a literal shoebox set.
Yeah.
Then for the viewers, that must mean they have a tiny camera, right?
No,
We actually had like a huge camera, and getting it into the set was so hard because we had to like maneuver.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
To like build like makeshift tripods to like hold our camera steady.
Like mini tripods for your camera?
Like we would like stack like random items just to like hold it at the right spot.
Yes, that's how I shoot my home videos too.
Like all 7 of us would be there, like holding each other, like.
Oh, so it was a set of 7 people.
Yeah, there's like a main team of like 7 of us.
So how many people were surrounding the shoebox set at all times?
It was probably like us 7. Yeah.
Oh wow!
There
So
would
like
be
all 7
someone-
of you were working around the set at the same time.
There was
Yeah.
someone like holding a light, and then we had another person holding the other light, and then we had a person like holding the tripod and making sure it was like steady, and then the person taking the picture.
I love that. If you ask the light holders, like, what was your job today? I was holding the tiny light about the size of my thumb over here. I love that. Was it particularly difficult to shoot with the smaller props? Like, were there any mistakes that like maybe someone accidentally toppled over the sewing machine or something like that?
All the time.
Yeah,
All the time.
we used putty to keep stuff in place, but like so in the film she picks up the button jar, she picks up the thread, and so we had to like keep track of like where those things were in the film, and we had to keep going back and making sure they were in the right place.
Oh yeah,
And, like, the
continuity must
chair,
have been
too.
hard.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions. And we have a few more questions to ask you, and these are from the youngins. So our first question is from Miles, who is 7 years old. He's asking,
Hi, my name is Miles. I'm 7 years old. And my question for the video is how if you're using a miniature set, then how big is the house?
so so basically the extension of that room. So you guys had a shoebox sized room. How big would the house be in your imagination compared to that room?
I think we imagined it as like an apartment, like one of those cramped apartments, right? And then so I think it would probably just consist of like maybe the kitchen and like a bedroom.
So about 2 shoe boxes worth.
Yes, probably.
Fair enough. All right, we have another question from Yuna, who's 5 years old. She's asking,
Hi, my name is Yuna. I'm 5 years old. My question is why are the people crying in this video? Bye.
I guess like there's so much like tension in the beginning, and then finally like they both just realize that they shouldn't be fighting with each other. They just want to spend time with each other, and the mom is just doing what's best for her kid, and the kid just wants to be there with his mom, and they both realize that at the same time. And so there's just that like influx of like emotions of like realizing how much they love each other and how much they're there for each other.
So kind of like what we were discussing before, where just being in the same room and just being with them in almost like silence, I would say, the same kind of like sadness or pressures could also manifest from the silence as well. So I feel like that's a really good way to show the duality of the situations. It's just like you're craving bonding time with this person, yet at the same time being there might, create some additional pressures. Yeah, I really enjoyed that answer. Thank you so much. And there was one last question from Cody, who is 7 years old, and he's asking,
my name is Cody and I'm 7, and my question is, why did the boys stay up so late?
It does seem a little bit late. A young kid needs to go to bed early to get the energy for tomorrow. Why was he up late that night?
So I think our original story was that he wants her to read him his bedtime story. But
yeah.
So the book is his bedtime story, but then she basically like says like, no, I'm working, not right now. So he basically just stays up late. And this is also like, I feel like something like we experienced as children. Like for me, like my mom would usually stay up late. So I would just like sit there and be next to her while she was working or whatever. And yeah, those are just some of like my fond memories.
Any fond memories of your own, Arlene?
Yeah, just like similar things where it's like my parents would be working, but I would just be like playing alongside next to them, like with my Legos or whatever. And then they would like take breaks to like come and join me like every now and then.
Yeah. And for a less deep answer, maybe the sewing machine was super loud that night and he just couldn't sleep and decided to hang out with mom. But thank you so much for taking your time and answering these questions. It was really lovely to watch your short film, and it was lovely chatting with you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
No problem. Have a good one, you two.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Wow, Tony, that was amazing. Thank you so much for moderating this.
That was so much fun.
That's great. Yeah, sorry. Wow, I don't know how to segue this because I can't believe it's the end. But yes, I want to thank you again, and I want to thank all of our guests who were able to hop on from all the different places that they're, I guess, digitally joining us from wherever. And I want to encourage you all to watch the films again, because I certainly will. I learned so much, and I realized that I'm not a very observant film viewer. And I would also like you all to check out the We Asian Arts channel, featuring 4 local artists who will be showing you some really fun activities. So that's just on our YouTube channel, but I'm pretty sure you can just click on the button somewhere below here on the portal as well. Somewhere. But yeah, thank you so much, Tony.
No problem. And you know what? Let's end this the way we started. We started off talking about You All, the boy who made the world dance. Let's dance off screen together. All right, you ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everyone.